Welcome to the fourth video in this assertiveness training series. If you haven't checked out the other three yet, please do so. I'll make sure those links are available. In this video, I'm going to share with you the Assertiveness Bill of Rights. All of these are taken from the book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. The rights begin with the primary right, which is, you have the right to judge your own behavior, thoughts, and emotions, and to take responsibility for their initiation and consequences upon yourself. The second right is, you have the right to offer no reasons or excuses for justifying your behavior. There's a belief ingrained in many people that everyone should be able to explain their actions and behaviors, but ultimately, each individual person is the final judge of themselves. The third right is the right to judge for yourself if you are responsible for finding solutions to other people's problems. Many people host the ingrained belief that everyone should be responsible to a power greater than themselves. This right is not saying that no one should ever work for the greater good or that everyone should always be selfish. All it's saying is that the individual has the right to choose. The fourth right is the right to change your mind. The ingrained belief that contradicts this right is that if you change your mind, then you must have been in error to begin with. And in general, you're someone who makes a lot of mistakes and can't be trusted with decision making. The fifth right is the right to make mistakes and be responsible for them. The belief that goes against this right usually goes something like this: errors are wrong and they cause problems for other people, so you should be made to feel guilty about the errors that you commit. Since your errors demonstrate that you're a person who's prone to making mistakes, you should let other people control your behavior and your decision making. The sixth right is the right to say, I don't know. The belief that contradicts this right is the belief that everyone should know the consequences of their actions, especially how they'll affect other people. And if they don't know these things, then they're irresponsible, they should be made to feel guilty, and they shouldn't be trusted with further decision making. The seventh right is the right to be independent of the goodwill of others before coping with them. The common belief that violates this right is that you should always cooperate with other people, and that it's very important that they like you. You may have experienced manipulation based on this belief before. If a friend has ever asked a favor of you and implied that if you don't grant their favor, they won't be your friend anymore, this is the right that you need to remember. The eighth right is the right to be illogical. The belief here is that you should always use logic to make your decisions because otherwise you're not making decisions in the best way possible. But the problem is when people say, oh, you're being unreasonable or you're being illogical, usually what they mean is you should do it their way. Usually there's not really an obvious logic that supports one side or another in such disagreements. The ninth right is the right to say, I don't understand. The belief that counters this right is that you must anticipate and be sensitive to what other people need. And if you're not sensitive to what they need, and if you can't anticipate it, then clearly you ought to be told what to do for the greater good. The 10th right is the right to say, I don't care. The belief that counters this right is the belief that you should care what other people think of you. You should care about the needs of others. Taken all together like this, the Assertiveness Bill of Rights sounds a bit like a recipe for a sociopath. There are consequences to being assertive, so you only want to be assertive when you feel that the benefits outweigh the consequences. Don't forget that the primary assertive right is the first right, that you are the only person who can judge your own actions and that you take responsibility for those actions. Your friends and coworkers might not like the new assertive you, especially if the old you was a people pleaser. But what's important is what you think about yourself. Assertiveness is not a game to be played to see how many times you can get your way over other people. What it is a way to stand up for yourself and avoid being manipulated by others. The goal of assertiveness training is primarily self-confidence.